Okay, so here we are at the next corner. We've done one side so far. So when you get to the next corner, I've done my last triangle, my double crochet, chain 3, double crochet, and here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those 5 double crochets in this corner, we are here. So after we do our double crochet here, we're going to do a double crochet, front post double crochet cluster in the next double crochet from round 1. Then we're going to do in the next double crochet from round 2, 1 double crochet into there, chain 3, and 1 double crochet into the next double crochet from round 2. And then we're just going to repeat for a total of 4 clusters in this corner, like how we did at the beginning here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we did 1. So now we're going for our second one. We're going to do a cluster into the next double crochet from round 1. Followed by double crochet into the next double crochet on round 2. Chain 3, and a double crochet into the next double crochet in round 2. So we did 2 so far. We're going to do a third one. So a cluster into the next double crochet from round 1. Double crochet into the next double crochet on round 2. Chain 3. Double crochet into the next double crochet on round 2. So we did 3, 1, 2, 3 clusters so far. So our fourth one, cluster into the next double crochet on round 1. Like that. So this last cluster here is our first leg of our next triangle. So we're going to complete that triangle. So we're going to skip the next 2 double crochet from round 1 and do a cluster into the third one, and that will complete our first triangle. That. Then we're going to skip the next 2 double crochet from round 2, 1, 2, and into the third double crochet on round 2. We're going to do a double crochet, chain 3, and double crochet into the next double crochet on round 2. And then we're back to normal with our regular triangles. Okay, so what we did at the corner here, we finished off with our last triangle. We did our chain 3, and then we started with our first cluster, chain 3, second cluster, chain 3, third cluster, chain 3, fourth cluster, which is the first leg of our first triangle. Then we skip 2 double crochet from round 1, our second leg for the triangle, chain 3, and here we are ready to do the triangles like normal. So all we're going to do is do our first cluster into the next double crochet on round 1, skip the next 2 double crochet into the next double crochet. We're going to do our second cluster, which will create our triangle. We are going to skip the next 2 double crochet on round 2, do a double crochet into the next double crochet on round 2, followed by chain 3 and a double crochet into the next double crochet on round 2, and that will create our triangle and our chain 3 space in between, and then we're ready for our next triangle all the way to the next corner. So that's what we're going to do for the corner when we get to there. Okay, so we're going to repeat this pattern all the way around. You're going to do your triangles, get to the corner, do the corner, then you're going to repeat all the way to around till we get to the end here. Now we'll meet you at the end here. And just to make things clear once more, what I've done is we've done our side. You get to the end here. The second leg of your last triangle is the first of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double crochet in this corner. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 that we have to create. So after we've done our last triangle, we did our double crochet, chain 3, double crochet. and that's where we are. So now we're going to front post treble crochet cluster here around this one from round 1, double crochet on the next double crochet in round 2, chain 3, double crochet into the next double crochet in round 2, cluster into the next double crochet in round 1, double crochet into the next double crochet on round 2, chain 3, double crochet into the next double crochet in round 2, cluster into the next double crochet on round 1, then double crochet into the next double crochet on round 2, chain 3, double crochet into the next double crochet on round 2, and our last one here, cluster into the next double crochet on round 1. After you do your cluster on this last double crochet from round 1, then you skip 2, 1, 2, you do your double crochet into the next double crochet on round 1, that will create your triangle, and then you do your skip the next 2 double crochet from round 2, and double crochet into the next double crochet in round 2, chain 3, double crochet into the next double crochet in round 2, and that will create your triangle plus your chain 3. So here we are at the end of this round. I'm here in my last triangle. I've done my first leg of the triangle. Now we're going to connect it to the beginning here. So at the beginning we have 1, 2, and our last double crochet from round 1. So in this last double crochet from round 1, which is also the first double crochet of the round, we're going to do our last leg into there. So yarn over twice, complete your last cluster around that double crochet, and now we're going to connect it to this beginning chain 6 into the third chain of chain 6, counting from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, with a slip stitch. Like that. And this is what my piece looks like at the end. So we have at the corner here, the leg that we just did, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and the beginning leg of the next triangle, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 legs in the corner, just like how we have in the past. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in all the other corners. Okay, so this is what my piece looks like at the end of this round. And here are the corners. Okay, so now for the next round. So for the next round, it'll be pretty easy. We're going to begin this next round by slip stitching into the middle chain of the chain 3. So we have 3 chains here, 1, 2, 3. The second one of the 3, so 1, 2. The middle one, we're going to slip stitch into that chain, like that. Now we're going to chain 1 and single crochet into the same space. So the space now, the space itself, we're going to do a single crochet, like that. Now we're going to do a front post double crochet, chain 3, front post double crochet around the next front post double crochet cluster. So the cluster is this, around it, like that, around the cluster. So not at the top, around it. We're going to do a front post double crochet around the first one. So yarn over, insert your hook around that cluster, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And we're going to do another front post double crochet around the same cluster. The only difference is we're going to turn our work and do it the opposite direction. So the first time we did it in this direction here. Now we're going to do it in this direction. Alright, so the easiest way is to just turn your work. So you're going to yarn over, turn your work, insert your hook around that cluster, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Like this. And what we've created is a Y, with the chain 3 in between. Okay, so we're going to do that 2 more times, 1, 2, until we get to our first triangle. So now we're just going to do a single crochet into the next chain 3 space, like this, and repeat 2 more times, 1, 2, until we get to our first triangle. So we'll do our first front post double crochet, chain 3, front post double crochet around this next cluster. So yarn over, pull loop through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 3, and going in the opposite direction, yarn over, insert your hook around that same cluster, pull it through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We've created our Y, with our chain 3 in the middle. Now we're going to do a single crochet in the next chain 3 space, like that. One more time, yarn over around this next cluster, pull it through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 3, turn your work, yarn over, insert your hook around the same cluster, pull it through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then single crochet into the next chain 3 space, like this. And that brings us to our beginning triangle. Okay? So the corners, whenever you get to the corners, you do exactly what we did. So when you get to the next corner, you have 1, 2, 3 posts in the corner. You do the exact same thing. Around the post, around the cluster, front post double crochet, chain 3, front post double crochet, and then single crochet into the next chain 3 space. Around the next cluster, front post double crochet, chain 3, front post double crochet, and single crochet into the next chain 3 space, and then around the last cluster, front post double crochet, chain 3, front post double crochet, and single crochet around the next chain 3 space. And now you're at your triangles. So the triangles are the exact same thing. The only difference is you are doing your front post double crochet around both legs of the triangle. So yarn over, here's our triangle, insert your hook around both legs like this. 1, 2. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Chain 3, and we're going to go in the opposite direction of the triangle for our next front post double crochet. Yarn over, insert your hook around the triangle, both legs in the opposite direction. Pull loop through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that creates our piece like this. Now we're just going to do a single crochet in the next chain 3 space. Okay, and we're going to repeat. So we're going to do that for the remaining triangles all the way to the next corner. So that'll be the pattern all the way around. I will meet you at the end of this round. So here we are at the end of this round. I've done my last front post double crochet, chain 3, front post double crochet in this last triangle. Here's the beginning cluster of the corner, 1, 2, 3 in the corner, the beginning one. I have my single crochet here that we started off with. I'm going to do a slip stitch into that single crochet to connect like this, and this is what the piece looks like at the end of this round. Okay, my corner and my ends and my corners, and the other side is the exact same. Okay, so now we're going to work on the other part. So the next part we are starting is this. So we're now going to start to shape it into an oval, and we have to do this part here. So this next row, so this next round is going to be divided into 2 parts. So this middle part here and these double crochets here. All right. So these double crochets here. So we're going to first start with this middle part here. So that middle part is the same thing that we created in our sample at the very beginning. So here's my triangle. And just to recap, when we measured it, remember we created an imaginary curve here, and that's going to be the length that you want to create your piece up to. So I have, if you create it too far up, it's going to be a triangle, and this part will point it to a triangle, which is not what we want. And if you create it too shallow, it's going to create a hexagon, right? Like a hexagon or an octagon, which is also not what we want. We want a nice curve, and that'll be in between those two extremes of curve, right? So for mine, when I measured mine was around 2 to 2.5 inches to give me that nice curve. So I'm going to create this part back onto here, that 2 and 2.5 inches. All right, so remember we created this part at the beginning to deduct that off of our initial amount so that we can create the center. Now we're going to re-add this portion to the piece. So to begin, here we are at a corner, 1, 2, 3 clusters. The first cluster, the chain 3 at the top, we're going to do a slip stitch in the middle here. We're going to do a slip stitch, and we're going to do a slip stitch into this chain 3 space at the top of our second cluster to move our yarn to this center piece here. So slip stitch into the first chain 3 space on top of the first cluster, slip stitch into the center piece between the two clusters at the top, and slip stitch into the second chain 3 space on top of the second cluster. And that'll move your stitch over to here. Now what we're going to do is begin with a chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we're going to turn our work. And we have this part here in between our next chain 3 space and where we are now. So this second middle part here, we're going to at the top just do a single crochet. Now we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to single crochet into the next chain 3 space. Chain 5. Single crochet into the next chain 3 space. Chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Single crochet into the next chain 3 space. So that's going to be the pattern for these rows. So we're going to, for the remainder of this row, until we get to the next corner, we're going to chain 5, single crochet to the next chain space, chain 5, single crochet into the next chain space till you get to the corner. When we get to the corner, it's going to match the same thing that we did in this corner over here. So just like how we did this corner, the three clusters in the corner, 1, 2, 3, the middle one of the chain 3 space on top of the middle one, the second one, we're going to work into there our single crochet. So when we get to this end here, 1, 2, 3, the second cluster in the middle here, we will do a single crochet. We will end off in a single crochet in this chain 3 space. Okay, so keep doing your chain 5, single crochet into the next chain space till you get to this corner here. Here we are in our last corner, this middle one here of the chain 3 space on top of the second cluster, single crochet. Now we're going to turn our work and we're going to begin the next row. For the next row, we're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to single crochet into the next chain 5 space. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Single crochet into the next chain 5 space. So it's the same thing all the way to the very end here in this corner. Okay, so here I am after my third row. So we did the first row, the second row, the third row. Now I wanted to point out for the third row of this part here, for both ends, when we do this end and when we do the other end, the third row, do you finish off with a single crochet into the beginning chain space of the previous row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's the beginning chain space of the previous row. We finish off into there with a single crochet, and then we turn our work and begin the next row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Single crochet into the next chain 5 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Single crochet into the next chain 5 space, and so on, and repeat till you get to the end of your next row. When you get to the end of your next row and all remaining rows, you do not finish off in your first chain space of the previous row. So here's the first chain space of the previous row, the chain 5 space. We do not end off with a single crochet into there. We end off in the previous one with a single crochet. Okay, and by doing that, it creates our decreases for our curve. So in every row except row 3, we never finish off in the beginning chain space of the previous row. Because if we do it in the beginning chain space of the previous row, it's going to create it vertically and it's going to make a square. So we want those decreases to create our curve. The only reason we do it in the third row, because if we finish it off and we do not do this step on row 3, this entire part here tends to shift over to this side slightly for some reason. So by doing it in row 3, ending off with a single crochet in the beginning chain space of the previous row in row 3, do we shift everything over so it's aligned. Everything else, you do not end your rows with a single crochet into the chain space of the previous row. You always end off in the chain space before that, so right here. And that'll create our decreases properly. Okay, so I hope that made sense. Continue your work until your piece measures your desired length. In my case, it'll be my 2 or 2.5 inches from here to the top. When I get to the top, I will meet you here. Okay, so here we are. I finished my 2.5 inches that I wanted to create for my piece. So measuring from here to here. So do not include the triangles here. Excluding the triangles, measure this new part that you just created, and it should be the amount that you desire. So as you can see, when we create our piece, this is what it looks like. We have a generous curve around here, and that's what we want. And when we do the rest of the border, it'll make it even better, but that's the idea behind it. So we started here, we went here all the way across, and we ended off here. So you want to end off on this side because it'll make it easier for the next step. The next step is to bring this string all the way back to the beginning here where we started. That's the next step. So if you end off here, you just have more work to do because you have to slip stitch into each stitch just until you get back to here, versus if you end off here, you just slip stitch in this section here, which is less work. So I like to end off here because it's less work. Also, when you end off, you want to end off looking like this with a chain 5 and slip stitch into the next chain 5 space. So when we end off, let me show you. So we did this all the way to the end here, and then we did our last row, we ended off here. So when we end off here, right, we end off like this. We turn our work over, so the right side is facing us, the correct side, and then we chain 5, like we're starting a new row, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we just do a single crochet into the next chain 5 space, just like we're starting a new row, just so that we can get this top part here. That's all we want. Now we're going to turn our work and begin slip stitching into each of the stitches all the way until we get back to the center piece where we started. And just slip stitch into each of the stitches. So it doesn't have to be exactly each stitch 100%. If there's a stitch that's really small and you can't seem to get it because it's tightened by other stitches, then you don't have to slip stitch into that. The idea behind this step here is just to bring our string back to that corner. Okay? Because in the next part, we're not going to be dealing with these individual stitches. We're going to be working in the chain spaces themselves. So the count for these stitches as we do our slip stitches backwards doesn't really matter if we mess up the count on these individual stitches. So just keep slip stitching back like this into each stitch until you get back to the corner here. I'm going to meet you at the corner right here. Okay, so here we are. I've done my slip stitches all the way to here. So at the corner, you want to end off into your chain 3 space that's on top of the first cluster. So the first of the 3 clusters. 1, 2, 3 in the corner, the chain 3 space on top of here, the first cluster, that's where you want to end off. And you want to end off at the beginning of this chain 3 space. So you're going to continue your slip stitches into these chains in the chain 3 space until you get to the beginning here. And at the beginning here, we're going to work on our next part. Okay, so that's what I've done so far. I've done my slip stitches to the end here, and here I am at the beginning of this chain 3 space of the first cluster in the corner here. So before we get started, I want you to jot down which row you ended off. So just count how many chain spaces you have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, plus the 2 corners, but 10. So I know that when I do the next side over here, that when I get to that I do the exact same thing. And when I get to the end here, I end off with the same amount, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then that'll match it. So just write that down so you don't lose track as to how many you have to do for the other side. But moving on, the next part. So the next part of this row is we're going to begin with a chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to do 4 double crochet into the same chain space here.
One, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Now we're going to do a 2 front post double crochet decrease around the next 2 front post double crochet. So if we look closely, our next 2 front post double crochet in a corner here is this one and this one. Okay, so we're going to do a 2 front post double crochet decrease around those 2 stitches. So it's similar to the 2 front post double crochet, just the decrease version. So yarn over, insert your hook around the first front post double crochet, pull loop through, 3 loops on hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on hook. Yarn over, insert your hook around the second front post double crochet, pull loop through, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops on hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, and that completes our decrease. So we have like a diamond here. Now we are going to work around up here. Okay, so we're going to work all the way up here, and down here. That's what we're going to do. So now we're going to do 5 double crochet into the next chain space here. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. Now we have our chain space here and we have a space in between here. We're going to single crochet into the space in between here. Into one of the stitches at the top, just do a single crochet, like that. Now we're going to do 5 double crochet into the next chain space here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. Now we're going to single crochet into the next space between here, between where we are and the next chain space, single crochet into the next space here, just in the middle there, at the top of the stitch, single crochet. And then in the next chain space, 5 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're just going to repeat. Here's our next space in between here and the next chain space. So inside this area here in the middle, we're just going to do a single crochet. Followed by 5 double crochet into the next chain space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and repeat inside the area between here and the next chain space, 1 single crochet in the middle, five double crochet into the next chain space, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. Okay, so here we are at the end of this. So after we do our 5 double crochet, we have our chain space here, single crochet, chain space here. This first chain space, we are actually going to do a single crochet into the middle chain of this chain space. So here's the middle chain here. We're going to do a single crochet into there. We're going to skip this single crochet, and then we're going to work into the next chain space, 5 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like this. Now the rest of this side is pretty straightforward. We're just going to do similar what we did here. Single crochet into the next single crochet, 5 double crochet into the next chain 5. Okay, so single crochet into the next single crochet, and then 5 double crochet into the next chain 5 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and just repeat. So single crochet into the next single crochet, 5 double crochet into the next chain 5 space, all the way till you get to the corner here. So in the corner here, we have our last chain space here and the second last chain space here. We're going to stop at the second last chain space here, because in the second last chain space here, we're going to do the same thing, similar thing that we did at the beginning here of this corner. I'll meet you here.